Hey guys, Montel here, and welcome to another edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Of course, I'm your host, and today we have a truly fascinating guest joining us, Mr. Josh Kesselman, who's the founder of Raw Rolling Papers. We'll be exploring the incredibly intriguing history of Raw, Josh's unique business philosophy, and some of the impressive work that they've been doing through the Raw Giving. Plus, we're going to touch on what the future holds for the company and the cannabis industry at large. Let's get started. Josh, thank you so much for being part of the show today, sir.
Hi there.
Hi there. So, well, look, let's kick things off by talking a little bit about your journey. First off, tell me where you're from, where you got started, and how did you get started in this business, this industry of the cannabis industry?
Wow. Okay. Well, for me, it started with my dad doing magic tricks with his rolling paper. When this is all from memory, man. So it was like I think I was about 5 years old, and he used to do this really cool magic trick with his paper. He would light it on fire and throw it in the air, and it would vanish, and nothing would fall down, not even ash. And that was the first memory that I have in my mind of rolling papers, and that's when I fell in love with rolling papers.
Wow. And so now you're growing up. Where are you from? What state were you born in?
New York.
New York.
Yeah.
So you grew up, you went to high school, normal like
All that stuff.
kids.
And I began collecting papers every chance I got. Back then, you could walk into a smoke shop, and any place I went, I didn't care about anything other than the papers. And I began making a collection of papers because I found them to be incredibly fascinating. I loved the artwork on the booklets. I loved the process. You know what I mean? Like as I got older, we all started smoking together, me and my friends. I loved the way we would all share it with each other. And it was such a way to connect and make friends that I became
You started
enamored.
when you say you remember as you were getting older, about what age did you start, consuming?
Well, I can't tell you because you know why. But I was definitely too young. But it was just the memories I have were the best part of my whole growing up that I can remember was hanging out with friends in my parents' garage or in the basement, just passing and smoking. And like every Friday night, someone would have some new contraption or device or something like that. And in our sesh circle, whoever brought the coolest thing, they were like revered. You know what I mean? You uplifted the circle. One time I brought an 8-hose hookah so all of us could smoke at once. And it was like the greatest night up to that point of our lives. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have so many memories like that I've always loved, like always, of course. But I've pretty much always loved rolling, smoking, hanging out with my friends. And I still pretty much do that today.
Wow. That's great. So, okay, so now, how did you get involved with Rush, with the company itself?
With Raw. Okay.
Sorry, with
Raw. Raw is a brand that I came up with. It's based on a song. I'm going to give it to you, Raw, Big Daddy Kane, that I grew up with in the 90s, which was a feeling, an emotion. And so I opened when I was still in college in Gainesville, Florida in like 1993, I opened up my first little smoke shop. It was a tiny little hole in the wall, nothing. But I started selling my extra packs from my collection. And I also would start trading with people overseas. And they would send me these really cool papers from Europe, and I would send them back what I considered to be American garbage, And my customers loved it because they would get these really cool exotic papers. And I realized there was a business in there because the margin I was making on like this cool stuff, I was charging the same. You would charge a certain price for those basic American boring rolling papers. And when the European stuff came over, they were costing me very little, but I just charged the same because I had no idea what to charge for it. And suddenly I was actually making money in rolling papers, which was kind of unheard of at the time, So
really, I'm telling you, most definitely probably unheard of at the time.
Well, now we're getting squeezed. A lot of the rolling paper brands are owned by giant, tobacco companies, and they just squeezed out the retailers. Retailers weren't making much money on their stuff. They were making some, but not much. But when you had something on these cool exotic papers, you actually had a margin. My customers loved it. I loved it. It was making everybody happy except for big tobacco. And that, But yeah, so I love that part of it. And that's what kind of brought me into the paper business, the collection into the store. But for Raw,
wait, I'm going to slow down just a second because back when you opened up that first rolling paper store, papers were being used for both cigarettes and other things.
Yeah.
Right. And so, was it your intention at that time to try to make sure you provided the most for the cannabis business, or you were trying to provide it for both businesses?
For me, I always look at it differently. Smoking is smoking is smoking is smoking. because like I met so many people that smoke alternative plants, especially back then when people were more afraid of cannabis. They were
Sure.
smoking herbs like damiana and mugwort and blending it with spearmint and all these other things, trying to find other ways to get an experience without breaking the law. So
Right.
to me, it's just about smoking. If somebody is rolling, if somebody is lighting it with a lighter, then I want to be a part of it. I just want to make them all happy. Because also
Gotcha.
people who smoke tobacco sometimes smoke a joint and vice versa. So you're just
Right.
trying to.
Sure.
It's really more about rolling up, and smoking is a lifestyle. Period.
Right. And were you did you get? I want to make sure I understand. Raw papers, are they hemp based papers, or are they you use your own kind of blended materials?
Both. I make hemp ones. We make ones with organic hemp. We make ones out of unbleached plants. Which I'd rather not talk about, but I can if I have to. I just don't like to because then Slugworth is always listening, and I don't want to share
Yeah.
any secrets.
Sure. 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 Sure.
So
Sure.
paper has always been a blend of plants. It just depends upon what you're trying to achieve. You use different plants and different species of plants in order to achieve a particular effect of the paper. It's art. It really is.
What's your biggest seller?
My biggest seller is the original raw classic, the first one I ever made, which is a 1 1/4, just regular raw. It's still my favorite paper of all of them. It's where it all began. And you know what? I'll tell you a quick little piece of interesting rolling paper history.
Sure. Come on.
From what I've learned and all the legends and everything I've ever collected in my mind and all the information I've gathered, this is what I believe. Rolling papers originally came in giant sheets. They would come off the press, and they weren't sold in a booklet or anything like that. The legend is that original rolling paper booklets were invented by a Dominican monk in Spain. So before him, everything just came in big sheets. And from what I understand, they would take it and fold that big sheet into a rectangle and tie it with a string. And that's what the string around a booklet of raw represents, is that original connection to the original rolling papers of the past. That rectangular shape you would then use as the lines to tear off a sheet. And that essentially is what we have as a 1 1/4 today. It's also referred to commonly colloquially as Spanish size, because that's where it all comes from, was Spain. So
Wow.
I believe that, like, if we went back in time, the natural size of papers before there were such things as taxes or anything like that was 1 1/4. So I always kind of have that connection to me that that's the size that we as humans would naturally smoke.
Got it. Got it. Got it. But now you've recently. I'm jumping ahead for a second, but you've
Yeah.
recently come up with some other sizes, right?
Oh, I've got so many sizes. I'm launching them all the time. I love creating, inventing, because I'm trying to make everybody happy. And there's always a discussion I'll have with people as to what size they prefer. And next thing you know, they're telling me something, and then I'm like realizing, oh, you actually need it longer or skinnier or wider. It's some difference that will make you happy in your role. And then I try to create a size for that person, because if there's one person that has that need, I've learned that there's many millions more that have that same need.
Gotcha. For sure. For sure. And so now we're going to be launching some new sizes soon.
Sure. Well, like, this is a nuance on a size. So this one is a 1 1/2. This is something we've had for a very long time. It was made on a 100-year-old machine, and a booklet. And if you look at it, it's kind of this square shape, and it was folded in. We call this a middle fold, like that.
Gotcha.
When you go to roll it, you're going to have to refold it or just go the other way. So now I decided to modernize, and I can't keep using that 100-year-old machine as much as I love to. There's only one person who really knows how to use it, and she's retiring soon. So I switched the format, where it's the same size sheet basically, but it's folded the other way. So now it makes it easier to roll, because you'll fill it and roll it this way. But in the end, listen, it's the smallest improvements. But when you're dealing with rolling papers, it's all about these tiny, tiny incremental changes to make a better product. There aren't grand things you'll do, but a bunch of small little improvements, they really lead up to an enhanced experience.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, I was going to ask you a question. I was like, well, Raw has certainly made a name for itself. And can you tell me what makes Raw papers different from the rest? But you just answered it. I mean, it's really a customizable size format that really answers the needs of the consumer.
Yeah, it's all about empathy. It really is. It's trying to understand what people want without them even telling you what they want. And that's really what has been one of the biggest secrets of the success of Raw, is simply trying to make people happy and finding new ways to do it and changing slightly and listening to everything that everybody tells you in order to make your product better and better and better and better. And then you find ways to make it for people who simply can't roll. Like we extremely popularized those raw cones, you know? I get thanked by
Yeah.
so many people who are like, dude, I could never roll a joint to save my life. And now I could
Right.
finally just stuff a cone and smoke. And I get to really, they get to experience the joy of smoking, of like really smoking, not from a pipe,
Right.
not from a vape, but from actually lighting a joint and smoking it. And that was all thanks to raw cones. So there's so many products like that that people tell me, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, you know?
And that's again listening to the consumer. But sometimes brands have a hard time being everything to everyone.
Yeah,
You
you
know what I
can't
mean?
do that
So, I
because
mean,
it's too
how
close.
many different SKUs do you think you have right now?
Montel, like I've got a warehouse out there. It's got thousands. I
Wow.
go too far because I really enjoy making people happy. It's like my life's goal because I learned that when I make them happy, they make me happy. So when someone tells me, or if there's any little change they tell me, I feel like compelled to make a product for them. So I end up with way too many products, but in the end, I'm making a lot of people happy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now, I mean, you think, I mean, how tough is it to really maintain the quality and consistency across every one of those SKUs? Considering the scale, I mean, the scale of your operations has got to be crazy, right?
The scale is beyond my comprehension, and it's extremely difficult to do. We have all of our processes and all the things that a normal company would have, but then in addition, most of the products when they come in the door, one of them I'm going to check, I'm going to test it, I'm going to roll it, I'm going to smoke it, I'm going to mess with it. I'm also like, on the company, when people give us feedback, negative or positive, for the most part, I see it. People are shocked when they write on our website some kind of, oh, my paper failed, your gum didn't stick, and it's me replying to them like, did you try this? Did you try that? Can you show me a picture of the pack? I want to make sure it's real. Did it get wet? What were the conditions like? Oh my god, what do you mean it didn't stick? My job is to make you happy, and I freaking blew it. What did I do wrong? Tell me. It's like that over here, which drives some of my staff crazy because we're perfectionists. You know, perfection. I always say perfectionism is a mindset. It's a mindset, and it's a goal. You'll never get there, but I try so hard. Products come in, I check them. I have to check them myself, and I'll notice things that no one else in the world would notice. The smallest little change, and then I'm pushing back to try to make it better. Keeping the products as perfect as I can keep them is it's just a never ending task. It's a never ending journey. You know.
How many people does your company employ?
Okay, so in the U.S. we have probably about 100, but worldwide there's thousands. You know, many thousands. And they're not deployed directly by my company, but they're employed by like my family's company or in the factory in Spain or in the factory in Bali, Indonesia. There's thousands making cones and all this. There's so many people and they all rely
I
on
mean,
one. It's crazy.
how many factories do you have?
Well, there's one in Bali, there's one in Ireland, there's one in Spain. I mean, then there's contract factories in other places. It's really hard to make stuff. The giant bobbins of paper are usually made at this one particular or one or more particular mills in France. There's so many things out there that come together in order to make a rolling paper. It's crazy.
Give me an idea, just from a volume standpoint. How much are you moving a year?
Well, in the U.S., it's more than 120 mil overall from our company here. Worldwide, it's probably even much more than that. It's ludicrous. Like if you were able to be here and you saw it, like right now behind me is a 100,000 square foot warehouse filled to the rim with smoking stuff, and we got another one across town. It's it blows your mind to see how much we smoke, like at how many of us there are. To see the scale of it, suddenly you get this feeling of like you realize how far we've come and how we're not alone and how many people freaking smoke. It's crazy.
You're blowing my mind right now. Where there's been this whole pushback when it came to tobacco, but now we know that more people consume cannabis in the world than ever consume tobacco. Right?
Yeah, yeah. From what I understand, yeah,
There are even more people consuming cannabis now than consume alcohol worldwide.
yeah.
And so, I mean, when you're talking, I mean, when you show that little packet, I mean, how many millions of those do you think you move a year?
Yeah, it's hundreds of millions. I don't even know what the number is. It's ludicrous. One of the things I had to do when the company got too big, because I say it's me, it's very vague, but like I'm not that kind of person. I'm not like the numbers cruncher guy. It's just the opposite of me. So at some point when the company got incredibly big, where the numbers got so big and we were making such huge quantities, I had to let go, and I just stopped paying attention to those kinds of things, and I tried to push them off onto other people because it was clouding my mind and I couldn't process it. You know, but the best way for me to see it like is to when you see it, when you bring in these giant reels huge reels of paper from the mills in France, and you look at them and you realize the quantity of that, and some of them are like 27 kilometers long or something like that. You're like, holy, and you have so many of them. You know what I mean? It just,
That's crazy.
yeah, you start seeing like, okay, I can't, like,
Can,
okay, and then you're like, wait, we're probably going to make a bunch of it, and then sales are going to have to stop because I can't believe how many I'm making, and then the numbers go up, and then they keep going up, and you're like, okay, like how many of us smoke?
I,
How many people are smoking? And how much are they smoking? Because this is crazy. And that's the only way that I've been
absolutely.
able to accept it, just be like, wow, I can't
It's
process it. You know?
this is going to be a crazy question, but can you give me like your market cap for your company? I mean, what do you guys average in a year in sales?
Oh, like I told, in the US, it's more like more than 120 mil. Worldwide, it's probably double that, something crazy like that.
That's insane, absolutely insane. And then you actually pay attention to making sure that you have an eco-friendly practice where you've implemented processes to make sure that it's economically or eco-friendly. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, sure. Well, for us, it all starts at like in Benamarful, Spain. The factory has, I can't even imagine how many solar panels are on the roof. So it's largely solar powered, and any power that they buy from their power utility is all basically eco-friendly power. It's renewable. That's based on what the from the local Spanish power provider. You have, oh wow, over here we buy all these carbon offsets. Like I'm vegan, we keep all the products vegan. There's so much that we do because it's really more of like a lifestyle. What I've learned is I wish people cared more, Montel. Like I wish they were as into this kind of thing as I am, because it isn't, being earth friendly isn't just about a product. It's about you. It's about the way that you live and you go about your daily life. And I wish everyone cared as much as you and I care. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. I see. Absolutely. Well, I mean, talk to me a little bit. You were talking about how you literally get inspiration sometimes from customers who will say, "I got a product and it didn't work or it did work, or I wish it was this way or I wish it was that way."
Yeah.
Tell me about one of those customers that is memorable to you that really has impacted your company significantly.
Okay, so it's not just one; it's thousands of them. I do appearances sometimes with like thousands of people, and I try to talk to each one of them when I can. One time I was in doing an appearance in Queens, and I think I was there for 8.5 hours. Just standing there with people, talking to them one by one, and so many of them will tell me something like earlier. It's like, thank you. I didn't know how to roll, and now because of these cones, I don't have to learn how to roll. Or your videos, Josh, they helped me out so much. Now I know how to roll. Or Josh, that paper was so incredible. I was able to taste my terps like I never tasted them before. I never knew a joint could taste like that. Like, holy shit, man. Every single time someone says that to me, you can see even whenever you tell a story, you relive it. So as I'm telling you this, you can see I'm smiling and getting all fucking uplifted because it makes me happy. I love the fact that we've been able to, in our own way, change the world in a positive way for so many smokers and build a community. That's the thing now, man. It used to be like, a few of us knew how to roll a joint. It was like a magic trick. Now, like, probably millions of people, millions and millions of people have learned how to roll or roll better or learned how to smoke their joint, smoke it better. Any little nuanced trick there is, we try to teach it, make a product for them to make it better for them, to try to uplift the community. And I believe we've done it better than anyone who's ever come before us, and someone will do it even better than us in the future. But the best part about all of this is when you run into people and they like, when people see me on the street, man, they're all so happy to see me because like when they know who I am and I already know who they are. We're both stoners. We're both like, we're in the mix. We're going to connect. We already have that thing in common. We both smile and it's like, it's like we're already friends. So
I would bet. I'm just wondering, did you have any supply chain issues during the pandemic and worldwide, or did you
yeah,
has
of
there been
course,
any
of
issues?
course.
Yeah, I mean, because there's some great ups to every business, but there's also some downs to every business. So, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the downside of this.
Okay, well, one of the things I try to do is I try to know, I like to uplift people, so I don't like to go too negative. But I can tell you in general, if you are in business and if you're going against huge, mega, multi-billion dollar, multinational tobacco companies, they're going to do everything they can to crush your ass. And it's not just in this industry, it's in any industry. Anyone out there who's experiencing success and is disrupting the way that we disrupt, or anyone disrupt, you're going to get attacked, man. They're going to come after you in ways you can't even imagine. And some of those awful attacks and things we've gone through, they've been really rough on us. and it isn't just them. I remember I think it was 2009. I had to sue the FDA in order to protect flavored rolling papers. Like it's been there's been so many roadblocks like that, hurdles to overcome. But it isn't just about me. It's about any entrepreneur. I want them to know that, like, yeah, you're going to get kicked in the nuts, dude. One way or another, it's going to happen, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot, but you got to keep going. There's a Marcus Aurelius quote: "The obstacle becomes the way," and that is the truth. You know?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I can imagine that. I can't imagine why especially the tobacco industry would attack you. I mean, how
Ooh.
you're preserving their industry.
Okay, rolling papers are basically part of the tobacco industry, and some of these giant guys have their own brands. And you come up with a new product that's completely different than what's been out there before, and you start taking a huge chunk of market, and people love your product probably a lot more than the old stuff. They're going to be pissed. They're going to be all kinds of pissed. And if they can't out innovate you, well, then they're going to try to find other ways to hold you back so they can grow. This
And if they
happens
can't
in
outmarket you, I mean, you literally, you're putting a smile on my face every time you open your mouth. And so I
yeah.
can imagine that. I can imagine that your social media has got to be over the top, right?
It is. Yeah, we got millions and millions of followers worldwide. It's freaking awesome. It's just, especially here in America, man, we've got quite the presence. It's just that this always happens. Is what I've come to learn. This is what I say to myself too. It's not just saying it to the audience. This is what I tell myself: is that anyone who is successful, anyone that is disruptive, anyone that's coming up from pretty much nothing and building up this huge company, you're taking market share away from some old established players. And those old established players, they're going to do everything they can to hold you back in ways. If they can't innovate, they'll try to find other ways that aren't as positive as the ways that I prefer to do business
And
in order to keep you back.
on
And
that
that's okay,
same
man.
on
It's
that note,
natural.
I mean, well, look, on that note of staying positive, and I'm not saying this to cast aspersions on any of your competition, but
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I mean, honestly, if I was trying to compete with you, I'd just fold up my tent and go home.
I know everybody says that to
Why?
me.
Why?
I hear that all the time.
I mean, honestly, because I mean, brother, I have a brand that's been available in the Massachusetts area, and I do dispensary visits all the time.
Yeah.
I probably have visited about 40 different dispensaries. And I got to tell you, when I walk in and I'll see your brand, on a shelf here, and I'll see somebody else's over there, it's like, why did they even bother? Get out of the way. You know what I mean? So I mean,
Yeah.
have you felt the cutthroat attitude in our own industry?
Yes, they believe that for every pack I sell is one less that they sell, and that's a very closed mindset that I don't subscribe to. I believe you can expand the market, and that I think, okay, innovation is the way. That's what business is supposed to be about. We're not here to just make money and go fucking, I don't know, play golf or something stupid. I don't even play golf. That's not what it's about. The actual fundamentals of business, the reason why we do this as a society, is to progress ourselves, right? We're supposed to make a better mousetrap, as my grandpa would always tell me. You're supposed to make it better. As we make products better and better and better and better, well, then we're uplifting society. We end up with the self-rolling joint, in theory, because if you're going up and up, that's where it leads to. You end up with better papers. You end up with better processes and better rolling machines and everything, like better lighters, until it gets to the point of where it can get no better, which is not possible. What I'm trying to say is, like, the reason that we're in business is to innovate. It is to create in order to uplift humanity. This is what I believe, and I really think I'm right. So I look at it like that. And I always invite my competitors to please out innovate me, out create me, because when they come up with something cool, it inspires me even more to do even better. It's supposed to be like that, where we compete like going up a ladder. So I love it when they out innovate me or out create me. It just doesn't happen that often. But if it did, it would be even better, because then I'll get even better. I swear I will.
Well, it's that old theory of a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah. Or as I say it, we all get higher together.
Correct. There you go, for sure. I mean, of course, I know you probably had some partnerships or collaborations that you've worked on with that have been beneficial to you. What's been the partnership or collaboration that's been the most beneficial to Raw, and why?
Well, I don't know about beneficial, but my favorite ones are ones like we did one with Wiz Khalifa. I love that because I love Wiz, man. I love his music. I love his style. I like his positivity. So we did one with Wiz that was It was due, and it was awesome. And right now we're doing one with Cole Bennett from Lyrical Lemonade. Sorry, his thing is a little blocked over there. But we did a raw organic hemp paper with Lyrical Lemonade, where we added lemonade flavoring to it, and it's printed and it's beautiful and it's so cool. And you can see I smile when I talk about it because I love doing that because Cole's such a good dude and people love the product and it just brings it all together. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I can tell you, I have been working on a product for a project for close to 20 years now.
What is it?
That I'm not. Well, let's do it offline, and so we don't give it away to anybody else. But I got an idea for you. I'm telling you that I think would literally change the attitude of the industry in some ways.
Believe me, I love that. That's where a lot of this comes from. It comes from people. When I had my first store, I had no idea what I was doing. So people would come in the door and they would ask me, "Are you going to carry this or this or this?" And whatever they said, I would say, "Yes, it'll be here in 2 weeks." And I built the store based on the community. And it's no different than raw. It's the same thing. You're going to give me an idea. And if you have that idea, that means it's probably other people have the idea, maybe, or it's something that people really want. You have to listen to every single person who talks to you because if someone's got some great idea, man, that thing is often gold, because the
Yep,
herb inspires all of us, as Bob Marley said.
absolutely. I talk a little bit about what Raw does from a standpoint of giving back. I mean, you do have a program of giving back. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure, it's called raw giving. We are absolutely not a charity. We give, we don't receive, So we've given back over 3 million bucks now to charity. I think we're like 3.1 or 3.2 million bucks. I've been to Ethiopia several times. We did all the water wells for the Sisters of Mother Teresa at their compounds, which are basically hospitals throughout Ethiopia. Lately, we've been doing a lot more local stuff. I'm trying to kind of give right back to the community that really formed us at this point. So like for example, we gave a couple $100,000 toward, I think it was about 200,000. It might be 150. I'm not sure, to CAS, which is Central Arizona Shelter Services, to help people experiencing homelessness that have also been negatively impacted by cannabis laws, like I have been, and maybe you've been, and maybe many people listening to this have been. So I'm trying to help people that have been, earlier I said the term, maybe I shouldn't have said, but it's true, that have been kicked in the nuts by cannabis laws. They've been kicked down. Maybe they've gotten a felony. Maybe they just one way or another got really in trouble. And it feels like, because I've been through it, man, and it feels like your world is over at that point because you couldn't even get a job at McDonald's. McDonald's won't hire me, man. I got old marijuana related felony stuff. I want them to realize that it just pushes them into being an entrepreneur. If no one will also hire you, then you hire yourself. So we've been giving back to organizations that help people, like give grants towards cannabis related entrepreneurs, and anything we can do with this money to try to uplift the community that created us.
Let's talk a
So
little bit about tomorrow, the future. I mean, what's a future hold for Raw? And then let's talk a little bit about how you think the cannabis industry is going to continue to innovate and literally grow rather than be, because there's a lot of pushback coming from a lot of different places, even though they love the money that they've been getting off of it, the tax money they've been
yeah,
getting off of it. But at the same time, we still have some stinkheads in Congress and that are
yeah.
trying their best to hold us back. So let's talk a little bit first. What's coming down the pike when it comes to Raw?
Well, with raw, what I'm trying to do at the moment I always want to bring it to the next level. So we just launched a new paper called Ethereal, which is the thinnest raw you ever saw. It's ludicrously thin. It's really hard to roll. It's difficult to produce. It's expensive as can be. But when you roll it right and smoke it, because the paper is so thin and the little intricate nuances of the paper, I was able to taste little terps that I never tasted before, like little hints and notes of flavor that I didn't even know were there. And that's the kind of place that we're going now. It's small changes to try to make a better and better and better booklet of rolling papers to uplift the world. I'm sure that we'll find ourselves going into the cannabis space, but for me to go into the cannabis space, I want to do it the same way we did it with the stores. Now with the stores, what we did is, because I came from store background, is I realized that my key to success is to make other people successful. We build in these awesome margins for people because I know what it's like to have a store. My store got raided in the 90s by the feds, man. So I know it's a big risk and I want to reward those people that have stores. I want to help them. So we try to build in these great margins for them, great marketing, make it very easy for people. We didn't have like our own direct store or something like that. I like to build what I call a hill, where it's like when you're on the top of a peaked mountain, when you fall down, you're going to fall way down. You're going to get hurt. But if you build a hill with a whole bunch of people together, you can't really fall off a hill. You can be rolled down in a moment, but you can't really fall down. So with cannabis, I want to do the same thing. In my dream of dreams, we would work with small producers and like offer them a raw license so long as they made the joints our way, which I believe is like the best way, using our machines and techniques and equipment and certain standards in order to create a joint that is really. I hate when people say pre-rolls suck, because pre-rolls don't suck. It's it's the equipment they used often that sucks, or the way they overpacked it that sucks. If they just would follow certain principles and procedures and understood the joint, if they really understood it, they could make it better. And I want to teach them all and give them a license so that way the person knows when they're buying a raw joint, it's this awesome freaking joint. I don't know how we're going to pull it off, but that's one of the dreams I have for the future. Like Montel, I really believe in like, I love people, and like the more you help other people succeed, the more friends you have, and the stronger you really are. Because then you got a freaking army.
Yep. Yep. And then speaking of having an army, how do you think this industry can overcome, I call it the bucket crab syndrome, where, you know what I mean? One guy gets ahead, so another guy reaches up and pulls him back. Another guy gets ahead. We're doing more fighting internally in this industry than we are working together collaboratively to understand that it's going to take us all to get to the next level. I mean, how do we approach that?
You're getting me worked up, man.
Hey, man, come on now.
It's just that I see that so often in our industry, and I can't figure it out because in my mind, if you're smoking weed, bro, you're not like that. So it has to be people that aren't smoking. So I keep thinking, I'm like, no. You guys can't be smoking. Or if you are, you're not smoking when I'm smoking, because I know when I smoke, there's no way I get like that.
And I tell you something, when you say that, I run into so many people in this industry that own facilities, own dispensaries, and they say, oh, no, I don't smoke. Oh, no, I don't smoke. Well,
damn it.
Really? No. What? Why would you even be in this business? Well, because I want to make money, of course. Because they're just after making money. They want to get that next boat. They want to get that next
Mercedes. And that's the person who's pulling down the other guy because he can't lift himself up. How the hell are you going to help uplift the cannabis industry if you don't consume cannabis, man? There's no freaking way. You can't fake that shit. The people who don't roll, the people who don't smoke, they should be kicked out of this industry. They should be blacklisted forever, man. Because the people we need are the people that suffered for many, many years consuming cannabis when it was illegal. Those are the ones that should succeed. Those are the ones that should get licenses. Those are the ones who actually care about the plant. If you care about the plant so much you're willing to break the law for it, well, then that's somebody I think that should own a damn dispensary, because they're going to care about that plant more than anyone else, than some dude in a tie that used to work at Walmart. No offense to the Walmart guy, man, but you're not it. You're not it. The person who is it is the one who has love in their heart for the plant and the people that it's meant for. It's a piece of nature. So yes, don't pull other people down. What kind of freaking crap is that, man? We have to uplift each other in order to succeed. We all get higher together. You don't pull other people down, you push them up.
Yep. Yeah, well, I got to tell you, that's what we're going to need. I mean, honestly, when you take a look at what's going on around the nation, first off, we have so many states that have it now, 38 states and the District of Columbia that have some form of cannabis law. And, all the state regulations are almost entirely different in every single state. And then, it's an angry group of people who are in some states that are running the entire show, where we got to get these guys to calm down a little bit, man, and understand again that statement, the rising tide, the rising buzz lifts all boats, right?
It does. It really does. It really, truly does. So what do we do about it? I mean, I don't know, but I do know that I can control myself, and I can make sure that if someone's climbing up above me, I don't pull them down. I try to push them up. I try to uplift myself and the people around me.
Well, but see, my friend, I'm going to tell you what we need. We need you, brother, to start holding some of these conventions. We have these industry conventions all over the country. And I go to them, and it's almost nothing like more than a fucking, I don't know, a mini mart where, everybody brings in their load of new equipment, new things that they're trying to sell. And this guy's trying to sell this guy's trying to sell that. And it's not a movement about trying to uplift the entire industry. We got to go back to way 15, 20 years ago when people got together because they were just worried about the fact that there were so many draconian laws that stopped the consumption of cannabis. We got to go
Yeah.
back to the beginning and start all over again, bringing people together with like mindsets who understand how can I change the laws here in Maryland? How can I change the laws in Florida? How can I change the laws there? How do we
Yeah.
get a broader base of people who understand that cannabis is better for you than anything else that's out there in the marketplace when it comes to, most of the majority of pharmaceuticals out there.
I completely agree with you. So listen, I just gave 50 grand to Normal, exactly in that thing. We gave 200 grand to the Last Prisoner Project to try to help people out that have been hit. I try to do my part. I really do, man. It's just, it's more than just giving back. Like when you mentioned giving back, you saw, I was like, okay, but it's really about helping other people. And I
Right.
don't mean helping people that are just like someone who's experiencing homelessness. I mean people within our industry that need help and guidance.
Right.
When someone comes, like I wish there was more of like a mentorship program,
Right.
something where we have an opportunity to share with each other instead of a trade show where we're all there selling our wares. Hey, check out my new shiny. Like that's cool. That's really cool. I spend most of my time at trade shows talking to customers, just understanding them, understanding their needs, having them share a story with me, sharing some antidote, some advice with them to try to help them, uplift them and get their store to do better, their business to do better. That's most of my time is just taking pictures and talking to people now. Montel, it's really true that, and it's no different in the cannabis industry as it is in our current society. I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. The more that we fight with each other, the more, no matter what we do, we're bringing ourselves down.
Yep.
Even if we hate the other side, we have to find a way, smoke some herb, let that go, and push forth our industry and our cause. It's a beautiful plant. It has such incredible value to our society. It really does. And if we could just stop right there and don't say but, and, or, just stop. Take that in, breathe deep. Yes, that guy over there is doing this, and that guy over there is doing this, and that person over there is doing that. So what? How can we make ourselves better? How do we get this legally faster? Yes, I understand that some giant multinational or multi-state operator is going to go in there and he's going to try to pass a law. This is what always happens in business, not just with them, but every business. He's going to try to pass a law that makes it where they're the only one that have the market, that some one way or another they get a quasi monopoly. That's what they always do in every industry, and that's the way it's always been. So what do we do about it? Well, we try to stop them. We try to not just stop them, but we try to actually put forth laws that make it where everybody succeeds. Whenever I get a chance to talk to a legislature of any kind, I talk to them about, please don't give it to Pfizer. Please don't give it to Pfizer. Don't give it to Pfizer. Come on, man. Don't do it. Don't do it. I had our federal congressman here. I'm on video sitting there looking him in the face and saying, don't give it to Pfizer. Pfizer is a euphemism for any large company like that. I wish that we could get laws passed that made it where small entrepreneurs succeed, where when any one person cannot have an interest, whatever that means, in any more than one or maybe two dispensaries. And that way it gets back into the community level, which is what we need. You need the guy who used to sell on the corner, having a legal store on the corner, selling to people that he knows their needs. He knows what they want because he knows who they are. They come in the door. Oh, did that not work for you? Maybe you need this. I know you really like that. I guess this just came in. This would be perfect for you. You need that kind of relationship, not somebody behind the counter that's getting paid minimum wage and getting taken advantage of by a huge corporation. That's just my rant, man. I'm sorry. Like,
No,
don't
don't be
what.
sorry, brother. Don't be sorry. That's what this industry needs to hear more like that. When I said, and I'm sorry, I'm not putting it on you to say you're the one who's responsible for this whole thing, but I know
Yeah,
that you run into other people who are like minded, and we ought to
I
start
do.
trying to figure out how to hold conventions again and hold gatherings again that aren't 2 day, farm markets or but are 2 day attitude markets.
I agree. Let me tell you what I'm pulling off. I'm pulling off, and I'm going to do it. I'm saying it because I'm going to do it. We're going to have the Raw Festival of Smoke, and I'm going to have it here in Arizona because that's where we're based. I'm trying to have Wiz perform, and I'm going to make it like the old time cannabis cups, where it was really like old ones, where it was really a celebration of smoke. It's not about coming in here and seeing how much money I can make from you. No, this is about the community, getting the community back together. We all smoke together. We all have fun together. And we remember why it is that this plant's even around, why we're enjoying this plant to begin with.
Brother, you reach out to me, bring me
Oh,
in,
you
let me
got to
see
come
the
through.
story.
You got to come through.
I'll tell you a very funny one. If you go back and dig it up, Wiz said once online, this thing got, ridiculous number of views. If there was anybody in the world that you ever want to smoke with, who would it be? He said Montel Williams.
Yes. That's awesome.
And, so I mean, if you're going to bring them in, let me know, man, because what we need to do is I've always talked about the fact that I think one of the biggest impediments in this industry has been we've forgotten about how we educate the masses, the consumers. We've become such a B2B industry where we're always trying to sell something off to somebody else who's selling something else. Rather than do that, we need to go back to the ground level and remember that we need to let that grandmother know that this is something that's good for her. We need to let that baby boomer know that, maybe it's time to put that bottle down like they're already starting to do. And this is the reason why you want to put the bottle down, because you know that when you wake up tomorrow morning, you're going to feel 10 times better waking up having consumed cannabis the night before than having consumed, half a fifth.
You are completely, you are speaking my language 100,000%.
Education. That's how this entire industry is going to grow. When we let the consumer know. I mean, it's so stupid to me that the industry doesn't understand that. Why is Big Pharma where they are? They are constantly trying to, whether it's false advertisement or just trying to blast the consumer with more information than they even understand. Every time you turn on the TV, if I walk in my living room right now, cut on the television, within 3 minutes, I'm going to see a commercial selling me some new drug.
For restless leg syndrome or
something. For whatever. I don't care what it is, man. They make up shit. They make up diseases.
That's what I'm saying. There was no such thing apparently as restless leg. They make the shit up.
They make the shit up, and then they try to sell you something that they think and so you don't even know the drug. You go to your doctor's office, you say, I saw this ad, and I can't remember what the name of the drug was, but it did X, Y, Z. And of course, the doctor's got it. Oh, I got it right here on my shelf. As a matter of here, take a sample. They get you hooked.
Sample. They just give you samples. Yeah.
They give you a sample, get you hooked, and then write the script.
Yep.
So, and I'm not saying that's what we want to try to be. That's not what the intention is. But what we want to do is say, hey, you know what? Instead of taking that script, maybe you ought to think about taking a trip down cannabis lane for a minute before you do that, because you might find something. And, if you don't want to smoke it, you can eat it. If you don't want to eat it, you can drink it. If you don't want to drink it, you can, put it under your tongue. Again, it's education. I'm trying to let the consumer know that we have something for you that might be an alternative to the stuff that Big Pharma has shoved down your throat for the last, 70, 80 years.
Yes. I completely agree with you. You are 10,000% right, because we have an endocannabinoid system in our bodies.
Correct.
Why do we have that?
Correct. And
why do we have that, man?
Right. And what people don't understand is that we have it. All mammals on the planet have it. It's been here for a reason. That wasn't something if you were, I don't care if you're a religious person and you believe in God. Well, why did God give us that? He didn't give us that because it was something that he wanted to kill you with. He gave it to you because he knew that this would be beneficial. And why? We know it's beneficial because that endocannabinoid system really drives cellular homeostasis. What does that mean? It helps to make our cells operate at perfect efficiency. We need to teach that to the public so the public can say, well, wait a minute, if I'm not operating fully functioning the perfect way at the mitochondrial level, why wouldn't I not get sick? So maybe what I need to do is spark that system. And we've noticed that there are certain diseases and illnesses that actually took off and exploded when we banned the consumption of hemp, banned the consumption of cannabis. Way back in, 1937, when they passed the Marijuana Tax Act, that was passed not because they were going after an illicit substance. They were going after a substance that was going to throw the textile and the oil industry into a wreck. And so they decided, let's get rid of that because we don't want any competition. We had William Randolph Hearst and we had, Charles DuPont, who was literally saying, I know how to take, that stuff that we're digging up out of the ground and turn it into textile. We need to get rid of this cannabis stuff, this hemp shit, because, hell, they could do the same thing with that and we wouldn't make as much money as we're going to make.
And Montel, their descendants are doing the same thing now.
Correct.
The same thing now.
Correct. Well, my brother, I mean, let's talk a little bit about, first off, again, if you want to sit down and chat about, how to hold, when you hold that festival, in Arizona, man, let me know because I'd love to be a part of it.
You got to come through. It's going to be so much fun.
Absolutely.
It's going to be so much fun because the goal is fun. The goal is not profitability and bottom lines and ROIs and all that kind of shit. The goal is fun. People have to have an experience, a positive experience, the moment they walk in till the moment they walk out. I want them to be truly entertained. I want them to experience the joy that I've experienced with smoking. I want them to have that fun, that awesome freaking memory that'll last you and carry you through your darkest days of life. That's what I want to
Yep.
bring
Yep.
back. I also want the community to come together because when we're all together, we have so much fun. Who can roll the most
Absolutely.
ridiculous freaking joint there is? And like one of the things I was going to let a certain number of people in for free, for sure, as long as they brought, I was going to call it cross joint or better. Roll me a beautiful cross joint, come on in free. Roll something cool, roll a dinosaur, roll something awesome that I know that you're really one of those. Come on in for free, man. Of course, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I
I
mean,
wanted to.
you've got an ethos like that when it comes to business itself. How about what would be the tip that you would give to any young entrepreneur out there to help them, as they're making a decision to move their lives forward and move their business life forward? I mean, what would you say to them?
I've got a lot of advice for them. I have lots of advice for them. First thing, of course, is innovation is the way. If you act like everyone else, you can expect to have the same results as everyone else. So you don't want to be an also ran. It isn't like, oh, look, there's that new cool product out there. I'm going to make one just like it, but cheaper. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. There's billions of people out there that are thinking that same thought. Let that go. Instead, there's that really cool product out there. How can I make it better? How can I do that? And the answer to that question is the answer to your success. That's part one. Part two, if you help other people succeed, you will succeed. It's true. Build a community, man. Build a community with your product. Don't just launch something and say, look how cool that is. Teach people how to use it, be involved with it, work with the passion inside of you. Let that show in what you do, whatever it is that you do. And I believe that you're going to succeed, and that's true.
Well, brother, how do you keep yourself motivated in an industry that, has got to every now and then just piss you off when the attitudes of some of the people that are in this business that you were elaborated on earlier, some of these multi-state operators who don't give a shit about anything other than seeing if they can,
Profit.
pay back their stockholders. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep yourself innovating always?
Two things. One is I think back to what we've been through. I think back to the 80s and 90s and 2000s. I think back to the feds kicking my door in. I think back to all the people that tried to arrest me and do all these hassles with me over the years. I think about all of that stuff and how far we've come and how wrong they were and how right we were. Now, finally, a larger percentage of society realizes that we were right the whole time. I think of that, which motivates me to go forward. But I also love people, man. And like, I go on weekends when the company here is closed. I'm kind of sad because I love being here. I enjoy what I do. And then, the other old expression you'll hear 1,000 times. You've heard it probably 10 billion times in your life. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. The reason why you're hearing it so much is because it's freaking true. If you're loving what you're doing, you're going to be sad that your place is closed on weekends. And that's the kind of way I want everyone to live their life. It isn't that if you live with that kind of passion, if you care that much about what you do, you will probably be incredible at it, because
Absolutely.
your heart's in it.
Well, look,
So like,
I want you to know, my friend, you have an open invitation to be a part of Free Thinking with Montel or Let's Be Blunt with Montel anytime you want to come back, okay?
I would love
I would
to.
love to have more conversations with you. You want to bring somebody with you, it doesn't matter. You let us know and we'll have you on because I want to blast you out there to this industry and let them know that there are still people out there who believe. I mean, that's the only way I could say it. That's the way to describe you to anybody else that I'd be talking to is that he still believes. And
I love it,
that means you
man.
believe
Thank
in
you so much. Thank you so much. That was such an honor.
no, absolutely,
Thank you.
sir. No, come on. Because I mean, we need more people like you in this industry who really, bottom line, believe in the plant, believe in the nature of the plant, and believe in what it can do for all of us collectively. That's where we start.
Okay, that's the key because I believe that I have to believe this. I have to. You have to understand that the plant can save us all because the plant allows us to be more empathetic and more open-minded. Alcohol brings us down, right? It closes us up, where this plant opens us up. And the more empathetic we are, the more we open ourselves up, the more we smoke, the more we connect with each other. You're not going to want it. No one ever said, hey, man, let's go smoke and then go fight.
Absolutely.
It's polar opposites. No one ever does that. That's just not something that's realistic.
Absolutely. You walk into a bar, 3 beers in, somebody's ready to beat the next guy up.
Right.
You walk into I can remember spending time in Amsterdam and walking into, some of the smoke shops that they had there. Not once did I ever see anybody in a fight there.
Yeah, the coffee shops. No freaking way. There's no fights going on,
No
man.
fights going on in there at all, without a doubt, my friend.
Oh,
Well, here,
and that
I'm running out of time, but let me just ask you
okay.
this quick question. Finally, what legacy do you hope you could leave behind, both personally and professionally, through your work with Raw and Raw Giving?
Okay. Here's something I've come to recognize is it's not about the person. The key to living forever is to get your ideas and concepts into society at large. And that way they're carried forward. It's never about the person. It's never about Josh. It's about something I've said or something I've done or some way I've helped society. And that idea or concept, whatever it is, carries forward. And that is the only way to achieve immortality. And that's really what I try to do. I recognize that, again, it's not about the person. It's about the idea. I want to help people. I want to help society. I want to do better and uplift the world, because in doing so, you've left this positive mark within our incredible realm of consciousness, which is all you can ever really hope for. And if that's too big, I'm sorry, man, but that's all I ever can imagine. The real legacy is the legacy you leave behind. And again, it's not the person. It's the ideas. It's the beliefs.
Not too big, my friend. And it's big enough for me to say, I want you back. Please, please, please come back. If people want to reach out to you.
Of course, thank you, man.
Let's say if people wanted to reach out to you, where would they go?
My social media, my main one is Rock and Roll, RAWKANDROLL. Yeah, so Instagram, TikTok, X, all those different things. I'm on all of them. Facebook, you name it.
Well, my friend, good. I hope people reach out to you. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show. And
It's been an honor.
Anything else you want to add to our listeners before we go?
Montel, you freaking rock.
Oh, my goodness, my friend. Well, I appreciate that. Let's figure out how we rock together. Look, let me just say this little closing for the viewers out there. You heard them, folks. I mean, check out Raw and all the amazing things that they're doing. And if you have an idea, don't hesitate to reach out, because Josh is willing and ready to sit down and listen to any ideas that come his way. Again, thank you so much, Josh, for being a part of the show. For all of our listeners out there, stay tuned. Make sure that stay tuned to our next episode of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Make sure you stay informed, stay safe, and stay elevated. And again, we make sure you tune into the next Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments.